Great. Thanks, Alex. Can you hear me okay?
Dan.
Okay, great. Well, thanks everybody for joining. So the world of nonprofits is a different world from, I guess, the ordinary corporate world in a lot of different ways. And we've kind of been on the front lines of that at Eastridge before Office 365 launched, and now that Office 365 has launched, offering that to our nonprofit customers. And another thing I want to show you guys as well is some really neat options around managing desktops. I think what makes the nonprofit world unique, other than the fact that you're always strapped for funds and you're looking for grants and trying to make the major donors happy as well as deliver quality services, is that a lot of times the personnel you're working with are either part-time personnel, maybe there's a high rate of turnover, and there's just a very difficult time training individuals on proper usage of corporate systems and then managing those systems as they're kind of bounced around between lots of people through kind of a high turnover rate. So I want to address some of those issues specifically with Office 365 and Windows Intune. And if you do have a question, please put a question up in the Q&A panel on the top of your live meeting console. And if I don't see it, Alex will remind me, and I'll try to answer your question directly. So if you don't already know, Office 365 is a bundle from Microsoft of Office Professional Plus on the desktop, Exchange Online, which is your email server, SharePoint Online for document collaboration and internal portal file sharing, and Microsoft Lync. So Microsoft Lync is similar to an instant messaging client that you might be familiar with that allows you to not only chat back and forth between coworkers, it also gives you presence information to see when other users are online in your organization. And it will also let you do voice and video conversations between coworkers. The upside to that is reducing your cell phone bills. And we saw that firsthand in our organization when we turned it on. There's a couple different flavors of Office 365. There is a version out there today which is free, and that really is Windows Live. If you sign up for Windows Live, it's really geared for individuals. You get some Office web applications, so you can get Word and Excel in a web format, and some kind of ad-supported email usage. Now, if you want to step up, there's an Office 365 that's designed for small businesses, and it's really 25 users or less. And so that fits really nicely with some of our smaller nonprofit customers. Other cases, we have larger nonprofit organizations. We've got one in particular with like 115 people. They really needed some enterprise features. And Office 365 has you covered there. There's a version for enterprises specifically. Talking about the version for small businesses and professionals, less than 25 users, it's a pretty sweet bundle of services. You get a 25 gigabyte mailbox. You get your online portal with SharePoint. You also get a website. So you get a website with full content management using SharePoint as the web application, as well as Office web applications. So if you imagine you don't have all the Office tools installed on all the desktops, you can have users that actually use Word and Excel in a browser in your SharePoint site instead of having to install those on the desktop application. So a really nice cost savings for nonprofits. The retail price on that is $6 a user per month. Nonprofits are less, and I'll show you that price sheet at the end of the presentation of kind of what we're getting for our nonprofit customers. For those that need enterprise features, a lot of times there's questions of, well, I have less than 25 users, but there's some things that I really want to have in our organization. The enterprise version of Office 365 allows you to have something called Active Directory synchronization. And this is a way of having your security groups that are present on your network and manage those in the cloud or in your on-premise network directly. Some customers also need the ability to archive emails and be able to search those archives. Additional options are BlackBerry Enterprise Server, or a higher level of support. All of these are included as part of the Office 365 for Enterprises. When you break it down between the enterprise plans and the small business plans, the E1, E2, E3, and E4, those are all enterprise plans. The big differentiation is if you go with a small business plan, you're basically going to hand over all of your DNS registration directly to Microsoft. If you go with an enterprise plan, then you're going to go to your GoDaddy or your Network Solutions account and point specific email servers or web servers to the Microsoft locations. The small business plan also doesn't let you delegate lots of different people for different administrative roles in your organization. It assumes there's kind of one person in charge of everything. And there's no directory synchronization with the small business plan. Support is purely community-based. There's no 24/7 phone support for the small business plan. SharePoint, if you don't know, it's a great online portal and document collaboration tool. There are some differences between the small business plan and the enterprise plans in that you don't get kind of Microsoft's answer to little Facebook pages, which is My Sites. You also don't have the ability to create online forms or online Visio forms. And you can really just have one major SharePoint site collection, not 300 with the enterprise plan. It's also not encrypted, so it's secure, but it's not encrypted over SSL. So there's some differences there between those two plans. From an email point of view, I already mentioned this, but there's no single sign-on support for the small business plan, and there is support for that in the enterprise plans. Support is also based on community kind of blogs and actually really nice community support that are manned by Microsoft support personnel. You just can't pick up the phone and call them. Now, real quick, I want to mention something called Windows Intune. One of the other big problems that we see with nonprofits is since the employee base either has a high turnover or you have a lot of volunteers, there's a lot of problems with how many machines do we have out there? Well, we have a bunch of different machines. Some of them were donated by XYZ Corporation. We got a grant from another organization that we bought some different equipment. Maybe Dell donated some of their own equipment. So you have a real mixture of equipment out there and a very dynamic mix of people using these devices. It becomes very difficult to manage these devices and make sure that they are clean, that they keep the viruses off of them, that you've got the latest and greatest software out there, and you've got a good inventory of where everything is and what's being used. So Microsoft Windows Intune is a cloud-based management tool that comes with a license for Windows 7 Enterprise. This is really nice in that you pay a monthly fee. You can put Windows 7 on these devices and then manage them from anywhere. In a nutshell, it's going to have built-in malware protection. It's going to notify you when updates are available and let you publish those updates. You can monitor PCs to see if there's an issue going on with a group of PCs or individual computers. You can provide remote assistance and log in and see what's going on these computers. And then always have inventory list of kind of hardware and software. Now, some of our customers, they do have a dedicated IT person that kind of uses Windows Intune to manage their own inventory. Some of our nonprofit customers come to Eastridge for something like managed services, where they say, look, Eastridge, we want you to monitor all of our equipment. We want you to do the virus protection, and we want you to be our help desk. Why don't you guys use Windows Intune to facilitate that? And we do. It makes for a very easy way for us to help our nonprofit customers. And of course, setting security policies was the one I missed there. The big kind of strategic drivers for Windows Intune is making security easy and helping kind of grease the skids as far as productivity, is catching these viruses and catching these update issues before they actually stop you and halt productivity. I can't tell you how many times we've had to go into a nonprofit and they were just completely down because somebody's computer was infected with a virus, and that happened to be the person who's going to be running payroll or some other critical activity for the organization. There's also some legal and compliance factors that drive adoption of Windows Intune around being able to report to your board of directors. Hey, here's everything we have. Here's the licenses we have. Here's all the hardware that we have out there right now. All right, now this is an eye chart, and I hope you guys can see this, but I just want to give an illustration of when we apply for nonprofit pricing from Microsoft. There's a couple things. There's a little spreadsheet that we need to fill out, and we also need a copy of your 501c3 certification. Microsoft takes this information and they will either approve or deny your nonprofit pricing. But typically we've seen anywhere from 50 to 60% off retail pricing for some of these units. So we see here Office 365 E1 plan, list price is $10. One of our nonprofit customers, we managed to get them $4, which is about 60% off list price. At the very bottom of that list, you can see Microsoft Windows Intune. That's $11 a month retail. So that comes out, they've discounted that at a 50% rate, and I'm not sure why, but that's where it is today. Explain the process. When we sign up customers for nonprofit status, even when they get it, the first bill that they get from Microsoft, it's going to show the full retail price. After 2, sometimes it takes 3 months, they will see an amended pricing structure reflecting the nonprofit pricing and a credit for any overpayments they've made while they were paying retail pricing. So it's not a super speedy process, but it's a great discount, and it works pretty well once we have all the paperwork into Microsoft, and we can help our nonprofit customers actually get that going. I don't see any questions. We're about at the end of the short webinar. Hope that was good information on Office 365 and Windows Intune and really pricing and how those things work. If there are any questions, please fire us up here in the Q&A section.